Good morning, good evening, everyone. This is a week 5 tutorial for immunology course, and I am Himanshu, a PhD scholar from IIT Bombay. So, currently, I am in my third year. Today, we'll see about the MHC and all those things. So, the question, the number, first question for this tutorial is T cell recognizes antigen as a peptide bound by a particular allelic variant of an MHC molecule and will not recognize the same peptide bound to other MHC molecule. So the behavior of T cells is called option A is MHC restriction, option B is polymorphism, option C is polygeny, and option D is none. So you have a 2 minute timing. So Neha, you want to answer for this question? Okay. Then let's see the right answer for this question is MHC restriction. What is this MHC restriction? We know that here in the question they said that T cell recognized antigen as a peptide bound by a particular MHC molecule and it will not recognize the same peptide bound to other MHC molecule. We know that T cell will never recognize the free antigens, right? Why? Because first they have to interact with the MSC, then only it will recognize the antigen. So instead, they recognize the antigenic peptides only when presented by a specific MSC molecule. Then only this T cell will be able to recognize the antigen, right? So this means TCR is restricted to a particular combination of peptide plus specific. So what happened that first these antigenic peptides have to present it to the SMHC molecule and then only this T cell will be able to recognize this free antigen. This means that this TCR is restricted to a particular combination of peptide plus specific MHC molecule, and this property we called it as MHC restriction, that it will not recognize antigen directly. First, it have to bind with the specific peptides and bound to the particular MSC molecule. Then only it will be able to recognize an antigen, and we call this is MHC restriction. So, MHC restriction is T cell activation require both the right antigenic peptide and plus correct MHC molecule. What is this option B is polymorphism. As the name also suggests, poly means more than two, right? Morphism, morphological form. So this polymorphism, poly means more than two, morphism means morphological form. These refers to high genetic variability in MHC gene among the individuals. So the best example for this polymorphism is that there is a very, we know that in MHC gene there is a very high genetic variability, which is an example of this polymorphism, and these variabilities present among the individual, that means in the population. And polygeny means this have this multiple MHC genes are there, which encode the different MHC molecules in the same individual. So polygeny at the individual level, and this polymorphism phenomena is among the. So this polymorphism refers, like this polymorphism phenomena is present, like in the population, and polygamy means in the individual level. So here we can see like what is this MHC restriction. We can see that this is the T cell, and these are the TCR receptor. When it binds with the specific peptide to and with the correct MHC interaction, then only it will able to recognize the antigen. Here, this is MHC1. But when these TCR receptors bind with the wrong MHC, it will, this peptide is particular, like this is the X peptide, which is specific to that. Then also it will not able to recognize, because here MHC are different, right? And in this third, here also we can see that this is the TCR receptors, and these peptides are not specific, right? But MHC are the right one. Even then they are not able to recognize, because there are the two condition in which it can able to bind it properly. One is this combination of correct peptide and the specific MHC molecule, then only these TCR receptors can bind and recognize this antigen, right? And this process, because it will not bind with other, and other than this is if specific MHC molecule also will not be there, it will not recognize this property. We called it as MHC restriction, right? So moving to the next question, the diversity of MHC molecule seen both within an individual and in the population is due to, option A is polymorphism only, option B is polygeny only. Option C is combination of both polymorphism and polygeny. And option D is VDJ recombination. So you have a 1 minute timing. You can think in the question only answer you'll be able to find. Diversity of MSC molecules seen both within an individual and in the population. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, let's see the right answer for this question. So, as in the previous slide, also we discussed about these two terms, polymorphism and polygyny. So, these diversity here in the question they mentioned within an individual and in the population. So, the right answer is combination of both polymorphism and polygyny, because the diversity of this MHC molecule we can see with this the combination of both these. So, in the previous slide, also we discussed about the polygyny, in which each individual has this multiple MHC gene. For example, we know that class 1 gene HLA-A, HLA-B, HLA-C, and several class 2 gene are there, which have every individual have this multiple MHC gene, DP and DQ and DR. These different loci encode the different MHC molecules so that they can give the diversity within the same individual. So these kind of diversity present in the same individual only. But when they are present exist in many allelic form, we know that each individual have two alternate form of allele, but we know that in one individual it have a allele, and in different individual it have a different kind of allele, right? So it will also give diversity in between these two individuals, right? So here the MHC gene exists like diversity between the allele form also, right? Because we know that different individual may inherit the different version of the same MHC gene. So these kind of diversity we can see within the population, right? That means between individual in a population. So this is at the population level, and these polygyny at the same individual, because here in same individual the different multiple MHC genes are there. So this is called polygyny, and we can see this diversity of MHC molecule both within an individual and in the population through the combination of this polymorphism and polygyny. VDJ recombination, no, it will not leads to the diversity of MHC molecule. We know that VDJ recombination is not present in the phenomena of MHC. It will just to create a so that it can bind to the different antigenic like diversity of the antibodies and all, right? So that it can bind to the specific kind of antigen. So, but diversity of MHC molecule seen by this two, polymorphism and polygyny. So here also this is through the diagram. Here we can see that it is an this is a polymorphism. We know that if the poly different allelic form, like multiple variant of this given MHC genes are there. Each individual have this two, but in different humans it have a like different. Like in human, HLA gene has 100 of different allelic form, but in each individual it will be two, right? But like when we see the at the population level, it have a like 100 different allelic variants, right? So here we can see that this shell has this two different alleles, right? One is red and one is this yellow one. Being so these allelic form, like how different in different individual it will present, it will give the diversity between the two individuals, right? So these will ensure that different individuals can present have a different peptides, so that which make the very harder for pathogen to escape. Like even that's why we call it as sometimes this herd immunity, right? In one individual it will affect some pathogens, and in some it will not affect because they have this different allelic form, right? So these will also play a role during the immune role. So it will ensure that this different individual can present the different peptides. So because of this, it will make very harder for pathogens to escape the immune detection. And here comes this polygyny. We know that in polygyny within the individual only these different uh, classes are present, right? And which create the diversity in an individual level. So polygyny means that an individual has several different MHC genes encoding the different, but they will produce the same protein only, right? For example, we know that human have multiple class 1 genes, A, B, as in the previous slide also we discussed, and multiple class 2 genes, DPTQ. So these present have like these different uh, form will form a different peptides, right? So that means even a single person can present a broad range of antigens. So even in the single person they can have a like different kind of antigens even within the individual only. So this is a polymorphism and polygamy which is present and which will help in creating the diversity. So moving to the next question, which of the following is correct with respect to T cell activation? Right. Option A is superantigens need to be processed by endogenous pathway. Super Option B, superantigen need to be processed by exogenous pathway. Superantigen don't require any processing. And option D, superantigen can be processed by either endogenous or exogenous pathway. So you have 2 minutes time. Anyone knows what is superantigens?
Option C.
Yes?
Ma'am, option C.
Okay, we'll see. Anyone else? We'll wait for others also if they want to answer, and then we'll see whether C is the right answer or not. Okay, no one want to answer for this question? Okay, let's see. Very good. You are right. Option C is the right answer that superantigens don't require any processing. Normally we know that, like normally what happen whenever any antigens will come or when pathogens will come, we know that first it have to be processed, right? Then like before it loading to the MHC molecules, because we know that when a T cell directly will not bind to the any antigen, right? First it needs to be processed, then MH, because T cell activation how it happens, first through the antigen presenting cells it will be processed and then they will show that peptides to the MHC molecule and which help in the T cell activation, right? So normally antigen must be processed, that is broken down into the peptides, and then it will load onto the MHC molecule, right? APCs, and this is the it will load it to the MHC molecules by the two pathway. One is this endogenous pathway, that is through the MHC1. Another one is this exogenous pathway. Why it named as endogenous and exogenous? We know that normally or in all the normal cells, this MHC1 is present. And normally it will act for viral protein or if any there is an like intracellular damage is there or something that happens in through the inside only, not through the extracellular antigens. So mostly it is for the intracellular antigen. In case of virus also, what it do is it will go into the host and it will replicate, it will take over the host machinery, right? So these kind of antigen we called it as intracellular antigens, and normally this intracellular antigen comes under this endogenous pathway, that is through the MHC1. This is very important. This endogenous pathway for intracellular antigens through the MHC1, and example is viral proteins. And then comes to the exogenous pathway which is through this MHC2, and for the extracellular antigen. Extracellular antigen can be bacteria, fungi, so anything else which is like extracellular fungi, bacteria, algae, something which will cause the disease, like which will affect and comes under the host machinery. So which pathway it will be targeted by? Through this exogenous pathway, through the MHC2. So, what is this then super antigen is? Super antigens like Staphylococcus, enterotoxin, or the toxic shock syndrome toxin, they are very different. They are super antigen, super like which don't need any processing and all. So, they bypass this antigen processing. They don't need like antigen processing part. Instead, they've been degraded into the peptides. They bind directly to the outer surface of this MHC class 2 molecule, and even not only to the MHC class 2 molecules. Simultaneously, they will bind to the variable beta chain of this TCR. Even they will bind to the T cell receptor directly, like which part? This variable beta chain, b beta chain, they will bind to the directly to the TCR. So because of that, this cross linking, because they don't need these APCs and processing into the peptides, they directly bind. Because of that, what they do is they activate a large population of T cells, which can cause the 20 to 30% of activation of T cells. And we know that then T cells will release the cytokines. Because of that, they'll cause the massive cytokine release, and which will cause the cytokine storm, which is also, it's not like whether like always this immune system will protect. Sometimes what happen is even hyperactivation will can cause the trouble, right? So because of that, there is a massive cytokine release, and which causes cytokine storm. So that's why the right answer for this is that super antigen need to be processed by endogenous pathway. No, they don't need to be processed, right? They will directly bind to the outer surface of this MHC class 2 molecule. It's need to be processed by exogenous pathway? No. Super antigen don't require any processing. This is the right answer. Yes, this they will not require any processing. They will directly bind, and sometimes they can activate the 20 to 30% of T cells, which can cause this massive cytokine release and cause this cytokine storm. Right. So here, this is like exogenous pathway. How it happen is there is an extracellular pathogen like bacteria or something. It will go through the phagosome. It will by this APC, and it will go inside, and then it will convert it into the peptides, and then after this MHC molecules, it will process and activate the T cells. This is the exogenous. In case of endogenous pathway, this virus is already present, take over the host machinery. So this is like intracellular. This viral protein will come, and it will activate. And here this endoplasmic reticulum role is also there, in which various kind of molecule is there. Like through the tap, this is the like proteasome which degrade this, and after that what happen is through the tap receptors, it will go inside the endoplasmic reticulum. And here we know that our our cells have this MHC class 1. These through the MHC class 1, they recognize this receptor and activate the immune system. So this is the endogenous pathway. So these are the two pathway, and here we can see that in this diagram there is a no role of this super antigen, because they don't need this endogenous and exogenous pathway, because they directly bind to the surface of the receptor of this MHC2, right? So this is the about the super antigen, exogenous and endogenous pathway. Moving to the next question, the recognition of the target cell by CD8 cytotoxic cell is. Now we know that we have CD4 and CD8 cells, right? Helper and the cytotoxic T cells. But in the question they asked about the recognition of this target cell by CD8, which is a type of this T cells, cytotoxic C cells. Option A is it a MHC independent? Option B is MHC1 restricted. Option C is MHC2 restricted, and option D is both MHC1 and MHC2 restricted. So you have a 2 minutes time.
Ma'am, option B.
Okay, so you are saying MSc when restricted. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, then we'll see the right answer for this question. So you are right. Option B is the right answer. Very nice. MSC when restricted. So what is the cytotoxic T cells? As we know that it is a part of the T cells only, and it is mostly specialized to the virus infected cells. As in the previous slide also we discussed that it is MHC1 dependent, right? All the virus infected cells and tumor cells, because tumor cells is also not like it comes from the outside, right? It is our cells which basically convert into the tumor cells because of some mutations or because of some radiations, like because of some mutations basically. It will convert into the tumor cells, but the machinery is same, but it just like some pathways that enhance, that will cause these tumor cells, and also this virus infected cells and the transplanted cells. So they all are specialized through this pathway, like this. They will control through the CD8 positive cytotoxic T cells, and we know that these CD8 positive, which is like virus, as in the previous slide also we uh, I showed that they recognize the antigenic peptide present on the MHC class 1 molecules, and these MHC class 1 molecules, they are expressed in almost all nucleated cells. We know that in every cell's nucleus is there, only it's just RBC later stage that don't have any nucleus. So normally all the cells have this MHC class 1 molecules, and the CD8 co-receptor, this will specifically bind to this MHC1, and it will stabilize the interaction between the TCR and the MHC1 class molecule. Okay, so the right answer is that recognition of this target cell by CD8 cytotoxic cell is MHC1 restricted. MHC independent? No, wrong answer, because it is MHC1 dependent. MHC2? No, both MHC1 and MHC2. This is also wrong answer. So MHC1 restricted. CD8 positive cells also MHC1 restricted. Always remember. Moving to the next question. Generation of antigenic peptide for MHC class 1 occurs in. So MHC class 1 occurs where these peptides will generate. Option A is rough endoplasmic reticulum. Option B is cytosol. Option C is Golgi apparatus. Option D is endosome. Anyone?
Ma'am, option B.
Okay, let's see. Anyone else? Only one student is responding. What's your name, by the way?
Ma'am, my name is Divya.
Divya. Okay. Okay, let's see. So the way you were right, very good. That cytosol is the right answer. We know that MHC class 1 pathway, we know that it come under the it will present the peptides from the endogenous antigens, as we know that like viral proteins or the self protein, the same thing. These protein are first degraded into the cytosol by the proteasome. Here also we can see that it first here it is degraded by this proteasome. And where is this proteasome present? In the cytoplasm only, right? This is the cell and this is the cytoplasm. Before that only it will degrade and then it will come under this endoplasmic reticulum. So the right answer is this cytosol, because these proteins are first degraded in the cytosol by the proteasome into the short peptides, that is 8 to 10 amino acids. After this, these peptides are transported into the endoplasmic reticulum, as I showed in the earlier slides, and how it goes inside through the tap, that is the transporter associated with antigen processing complex. And after that, inside the rough endoplasmic reticulum, it will bind to the MHC class 1 molecules, which are then transported by the Golgi apparatus to the cell surface for recognition of by these CD8 positive T cells. So in the question, they mentioned that generation of this antigenic peptides. We know that proteasome is present in the cytoplasm, and proteasome, as the name suggests, it will degrade into the shorter peptides, right? Any protein. So that's why the generation of these peptides occur in the cytoplasm, right? Not in the rough endoplasmic, not in the Golgi apparatus, and not in the endosome. It happens inside the cytosol. So you were right. Moving to the here, like this is the same thing, that how this MHC class 1 happen. This is the proteasome. LM2 and LMP7 types. Here, this cancer cell, bacteria cell, and viral antigen all comes under this. It will here we can see that it convert into the peptides through. There are two receptor, TAP1 and TAP2, or we call it a TAP. Through that TAP, it will go is inside the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi, and then further process, like after the like endoplasmic reticulum. Here we can see that it will goes to the this now this MHC molecule is also there, then it will go and process into this Golgi apparatus, and further it will go outside this MHC class 1 molecules, and here the binding of this peptides also, which activate this T cell activation. Like more elaborative diagram, because there this step was not there, right? So how this activation happens? So in this way it happens. Um, choose the correct combination from panel Choose the correct combination from panel 1 and panel 2. Panel 1 is tap. Like this, second option is step in, and the third is ERP57, and the fourth is Kelnexin. And you have to tell like these tap, what will they do is, here in the panel 2 it described that option A is break and reform the disulfide bond in the MHC class 1 alpha domain during peptide loading. So you have to mention which this function is performed by what, right? Option B is move peptide into ER. Option C is retain the MHC class 1 molecule alpha chain in a partially folded state. Option D is it forms a bridge between MHC class 1 molecule and TAP complex. Now you have to tell the answer that option 1 is correct because this TAP will do move peptide into the ER, that is 1 to B, second to D, or third to C, fourth to A. So you have to see like which is the right function of, you have to basically combine this panel 1 and panel 2, which is the right answer. So you have 2 minute timing. You can
Option D, ma'am.
Ma'am, option A.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else to answer for this question? Okay, let's see the right answer. So option B is the right answer. As in the previous slide also we discussed, it's okay. You have to first see the tab. In the previous slide also we discussed about this tab, right? This is the tab, and we can see that this peptide will through the tab it will move inside the endoplasmic reticulum, right? So here we'll see that in which option it is mentioned. So option B, we can see that it moves the peptide into endoplasmic reticulum. That means first is correct to the B, right? And we can see that only two options. Only two options are there, right? So then second is D. In in both the options, um, I think one of you have like mic is on. Then coming to the tepecin already is there, second D, right? It form a bridge between the MHC class 1 molecule and the TAP complex, right? This is the TAP. It will move right into the ER because this TAP is a, and also that this TAP which will help in moving the peptides into the endoplasmic reticulum. It will not move these peptides directly. It needs some ATP. It will need some like money. So money is there, ATP. So it is an ATP dependent transporters that carry the peptide from the proteasome degradation in the cytosol into the endoplasmic reticulum. Next is tepecin. So this tepecin, mostly what they do is they stabilize this empty MHC class 1 molecule, and then they will link them to the TAP so that they can do the efficient peptide loading. Here the name also suggests this tepecin that will link to this TAP, right? So these, as the name also suggests that tapacin, so we can easily recognize this tapacin is basically what they do is they form a bridge between the tap complex and this MSC class 1 molecule. Even through the name we can guess tapacin, that is tap and this MHC class 1 molecule, so they form a bridge between this two. So these two options have this one B, second D, right? Now we have to recognize whether third is correct with the C or the third is A. ERP57. So these ERP57 is a chaperone. Basically, they help in the proper folding, right? And peptide loading by reshuffling the disulfide bond. So the right answer is that it will break and it will reform the disulfide bond in the MSC class 1 alpha domain during the peptide loading, right? So the main function of this complex is ER, as the name suggests, ER is endoplasmic reticulum. So this is basically linked with the endoplasmic reticulum. P57, so it is a like mostly it is a complex which mostly help in breakage and reforming the disulfide bond, and during the MHC class 1 alpha domain, as only this is the we are talking about this like different protein of the same thing like through the MSC class 1 valai. And the last option is Kelnexin. What is this Kelnexin is it is also a chaperone, but what is they do is this MHC class 1 alpha, the E that binds with this MHC class 1 alpha chain, until this beta 2 microglobin is added. Once it will added, then it will go. So it retain the MHC class 1 molecule alpha chain in a partial folded state. Right. So the right answer is option B. Right. Two, like these two we can guess very nicely. The tap already discussed that it moves the peptide into ER, and tepecine, as the name suggests, tepecine, that it is a complex form a bridge between the MSC class 1 molecule and the tap complex. And third is ERP57, endoplasmic reticulum related, it is a chaperone. And normally what they do is it break and reform the disulfide bond, right? And for this kelnaxin, uh, what this kelnaxin do is it retains this MHC class 1 molecule alpha chain in a partial folded state. In a partial folded state, whenever this will come beta microglobin, then it will convert into the fully, right? So until then, it will retain this in a half state, that is partial folded state. So this is the function of kelnaxin. Right. So moving to the next question, antigen binding with MHC class 2 molecule. Now here the MHC class 2 molecule is mediated by option A is cathepsin, option B is CLIP, option C is HLA-DM, and option D is peptidyl transferase.
Ma'am, option C.
Okay. So one of you are saying option C. Anyone else? Okay, then let's see the right answer. So one of you are saying option C. HLADM. So very nice, very good. This is the right answer. That is HLADM is the right answer. So this antigen binding with the MHC2 molecule is mediated by this HLADM. Now what is this? Like what is this HLADM? What is this cathepsin and all? So now here all this come under this processing of antigen during the MHC2. In the previous slides, we discussed about the MHC1 processing, how it happens. We saw the tap receptors and all the like how it happens through the endoplasmic reticulum and then go to the Golgi and what were other proteins. So basically, this question will help you understand the now like how the processing of antigen in during this MHC class 2 happens. So this MHC class 2 molecules, they are synthesized in the endoplasmic reticulum, but their peptide binding groove is blocked by the invariant chain. That is this chain that it is blocked by, and the invariant chain is degraded in the endosomal or the lysosomal pathway. So MHC class 2 molecule also synthesized in the ER. Now, but their binding groove is blocked by which chain? Invariant chain. Now it is degraded in the endosomal or lysosomal pathway through the cathepsin S. So basically what this cathepsin S do is it will degrade this invariant chain, because invariant chain is degraded in the endosomal or lysosomal pathway by one protease, and we named it as cathepsin S. So here no belong with the antigen binding with the MHC molecule, right? Because it will degrade the invariant chain and it will leave behind a small fragment. We called it as clip. Clip is also not the right answer, because we know that clip, what they do is they occupy the peptide binding groove of this MHC class 2. So if this is the MHC, molecule, 4 structure is there. So what it do is it will occupy this site so that no premature binding of other peptide will happen. So this clip, what they do is they will come and they will sit to this peptide group of this MHC2, so it will prevent the premature binding of other peptides, right? That means it is preventing the binding of this peptide, right? Then to load the actual antigenic peptide, what first have to remove, this clip must be removed, right? So then this HLA-DM will come, which what they do is they act as a peptide editor. So they work as an editor. What they do is they remove this clip and they facilitate the binding of any antigen, process antigen into the MHC2 group. So in the question also they ask that antigen binding with the MHC class 2 molecule is mediated by this HLA-DM, because cathepsinase we saw that it is mostly happen that this invariant chain is degraded by this cathepsinase because it is a proteasome. And clip normally they prevent the premature binding of any peptide and they will sit to the peptide group of this MHC2. Now, who will initiate this antigen binding when proper antigen will come? This HLA-DM will ensure what they do is they remove this clip and they will facilitate the binding of this processed antigen peptide into the MHC2 group, right? So the right answer is this HLA-DM. And the one more thing is here cathepsinase, as already I discussed, I mentioned that it degrades the invariant chain but doesn't directly mediate the antigen binding. And clip actually they block the antigen binding until they removed. And one more is peptidyl transferase, as the name suggests, this is an enzyme in protein translation. And peptide transferase, we know that during the translation process that amino acceptor and a peptide and is there. So two and is there, amino to peptide, and then there is a removal, there is a transfer of peptide we have to do. In that section, it the role of this peptidyl transferase will come, and it is not related to this antigen presentation at all. So this is the enzyme which normally present in the protein translation, and it is unrelated to this antigen presentation, right? So here, this is a pathway of this MHC class 2 molecule. How it happens is, this is a protein antigens, right? What they do is through the endocytosis process, endocytic vesicles, it will go into the endosome. Then this will, through the proteasome, degradation will happen so that it will convert into the this peptide, and this peptide will load it to the MHC2, and then this clip is there so that it will not bound. That clip loaded MHC2 is there, then HLA-DM it sorry, this cathepsinase, first this, right, endoplasmic rent, and this cathepsinase will degrade, and these H clip will sit into this. When this clip will remove, then it will bind with the peptides molecules, and then this peptide will activate the T cell activation, that this is the CD4 cells are there. So in this way, this MHC2 processing will happen. Moving to the next question, there is a three major cell type, right? Uh, Dendritic cells, which is the APC, macrophages, and the B cells. These are the cells which present the peptides bound to the MHC class 2 molecules, and they for recognition by the CD4 T cells. Here also we see that na, in MHC2, which role is there? CD4 helper cells, normal, right? In general, these peptides are derived from proteins or pathogen taken by the cells by endocytosis, phagocytosis, or macropinocytosis. So these are the proteins or pathogens taken up by the cells by the endocytosis, phagocytosis, and macropinocytosis. Based on this pathway of antigen uptake, some of the enzyme that degrade the protein to generate the peptide for MHC class 2 presentation are: option A is ubiquitin ligase that tag proteins for degradation by the proteasome. Option B is ATP transporter proteins that deliver the endocytic proteins into the cytosol for degradation. Option C is Cysteine proteases like cathepsin that function at acidic pH. Option D is lysosomal thiol reductase found in endosome. Option E is lysosome associated membrane trafficking LAMP. Anyone? So you have a 2 minutes timing.
Ma'am, option C.
Okay. So option C. So one of you are saying option C.
Ma'am, option B.
Okay. So two different options. Okay, we'll see. Anyone else? Okay, let's see the right answer. So, one of you are right. Option C is the right answer. That is cysteine protease like cathepsin that function at acidic pH. Right. So, how this antigen uptake take place through the MHC2? First, let's see. Whenever exogenous antigen will come, they are internalized by this endocytosis process or phagocytosis process or the macropinocytosis process. So these are the three processes in which whenever there is an external antigen, it will internalize, right? Through the endocytosis or phagocytosis or macropinocytosis. Now what happened, we know that these phagocytes and all this, these are the acidic. So inside the acidic endosome or lysosome, these proteins are broken down into the peptides so that they can bind to the MHC2. Now there are different enzymes present in the MHC2 processing. One is this cysteine protease, another is this lysosomal thiol reductase. So what this cysteine protease do is they degrade the protein into the peptide fragment inside the acidic condition only. So, in the question also they ask that based on this pathway of antigen uptake, some of the enzymes that degrade the proteins to generate peptide are mostly through this cysteine proteases. Also, we call it as like cathepsin. These proteases are like cathepsin. Like cathepsin also degrade the proteins into the peptides, right? And normally, what they do is they function as at this acidic pH, right? So these are the enzymes which normally what they do is they degrade this protein into the peptide fragment inside this acidic endosomal or lysosomal compartment. Now, what is this lysosomal thioreductases or these lysosomal thioreductase, also called it as GILD, that is a gamma interferon inducible lysosomal thioreductase. What they do is lysosomal thiol that is used for the thio group is used for the basically disulfide sulfide, right? So it help in breaking the disulfide bond inside the lysosomal. As the name suggests, lysosomal, that is inside the lysosomal thiol, it break down the disulfide bond because here reductase is also thioreductase, that is break that reductase is addition of H, and when addition of H is there, we know that thio group is S single bond S, right? So there is a disulfide bond. When H will come, this bond will break down. So this lysosomal thiol reductase, it will break down this disulfide bond as the name suggests inside the lysosome, right? And aiding the unfolding before the proteosis lysis. So it will not help in the protein into the peptides, right? It basically help in the unfolding, right? Because breaking of disulfide doesn't mean that it will convert into the fully peptide, right? this happens before the proteolysis, so that it unfolding will happen, so that proteolysis will be easy now, right? So this is not the thing that it will convert into the peptides. So the main is this cysteine proteases like cathepsin, which have work at the acidic pH, it will convert, right? Normally, other than that is, we know that different things are there which is present in this ubiquitin ligase, that is present, not, it is a part of this, right? So the right answer is cysteine produces like cathepsin that function at acidic pH, right? Also, this ATP transporter protein, it is present during the MHC class 1. So this is also wrong option. Ubiquitin ligase, it's not a part of this. ATP transport, it is present during this MHC class 1, not MHC class 2. Cysteine protease, right. Option D is lysosomal cell. No, because we know that it helps in the unfolding only. And lysosome associated membrane trafficking protein. Oh, right. So what is this LAMP2? This LAMP2 basically, as the name suggests, lysosome associated. So it is a enzyme which is basically associated with the lysosome only, membrane trafficking protein. So mainly it help in the trafficking and integrity. So as the name suggests, integrity, maintaining the integrity and trafficking of the lysosome. So it will not a protease or peptide generating enzyme. So this is also wrong option. In the options only answers lie. So you have to just carefully read the options. So you'll be able to find that which is the right answer if you read very carefully. So the only option is this proteases, which basically helping in generating the peptides, right? Any doubt? So here also this we already discussed that how it happens. Moving to the next question. During MHC class 1 synthesis and folding in the endoplasmic reticulum, yeah, so a process of peptide editing take place in the newly synthesized MHC class 1 protein is held in a peptide receptive state by binding to the calreticulin ERP57 trypsin complex. So why this peptide editing ensures that this MHC class 1 molecule that reach to the cell surface have stable high affinity binding for the peptide cargo. This peptide editing is important to the immune response because it, option A is, it maintain the high level of surface MHC class 1 expression. Option B is, it ensures that MHC class 1 molecules are not degraded in the endoplasmic reticulum. Option C is, retain the nascent MHC class 1 molecule in a peptide receptor state. Option D is, allow the surface MHC class 1 molecule to bind new peptide from the extracellular milieu. Option E is, prevent the surface MHC class 1 molecule from undergoing peptide exchange at the cell surface. Anyone?
Option A.
Okay. So one of you are saying option A, that it maintains the high level of surface MHC class 1. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, let's see the right answer for this question. Um, Option E is the right answer. It's okay, but it prevents the surface MHC class 1 molecule from undergoing peptide exchange at the cell surface. How it happens is, so what happen is, like during this MHC class 1 synthesis, we know that in the endoplasmic reticulum, what happen is this MHC1 heavy chain, MHC1 heavy chain will be there. It firstly associate with this kelnexin, right? After that, it will bind to the beta 2 microglobin. After this, what they do is they bind to this PLC peptide loading complex. In this peptide loading complex, it includes the calreticulin, ERP57, TP, tepecin, and the step molecules, right? So first it associate with the calnexin as in the question also mentioned, and then with the beta 2 microglobin, and after that it will bind with the peptide loading complex. As the name suggests, it will help in loading of the peptide, right? So these MHC1 is kept in the peptide receptive state. Why it is important to keep in the receptive states? Because until a suitable highly very peptide will found, then only it will come and bind, right? So this, what is this peptide editing is, we know that this tapsin play a role in the peptide editing, as the name suggests, tap. So it ensure that only a stable or highly peptides are loaded. If any by chance any weak peptide will bind, these tapsin help release it, and it will keep the groove open for a better peptide. If some weak peptide will come, these tapsin will make sure that it will release it, and it will make the groove open, so that next any better peptide will come and they'll make the complex. So these will ensure that only a long lived MHC class 1 complex make it to the surface. So it also help. Why is this important is because this stable MHC1 complex are needed for the long lasting presentation to the CD8. In the question also, it happens that it prevent the surface from undergoing, so that there will be no peptide exchange. So that's why a stable highly affinity binding peptide cargo, this peptide editing is important, because this will ensure when they have this stable or high affinity peptide cargo, it will bind, so that it will not undergoing any peptide exchange, right? So it prevents the surface MHC class 1 molecule from undergoing peptide exchange at the surface. If unstable complex were exported, they would rapidly dissociate and reduce the MHC class 1 molecule, right? So, oh, sorry. So this is the right answer, that option E, that it will prevent, so that no exchange will happen, right? Maintain high level of surface MHC class 1 expression? No, it's not needed. Ensure that MHC class are not degraded in the air? No. Retain the NACET? It's not right. And it will binding? No. Only this is the right answer, that it prevent the surface MHC class 1 molecule from undergoing peptide exchange at the cell surface. So moving to the last question, choose the correct statement about gamma delta T cell receptor. Option A is it recognizes the antigen as peptide present by the MHC molecules. Option B is recognize their target antigen directly. Option C is not restricted by the classical MHC class 1 and class 2 molecule. Option D is B and C. Option E is both A and C. Anyone?
Option D.
Okay. Anyone else? Both A and C. Okay.
Ma'am, option B.
Option B. Okay.
B, ma'am.
Okay. D. Okay. So both of you are saying option D. That is, let's see. So you both of you are right. Very good. Right. Both B and C. So what is the function of this? So we know that there are two alpha, beta, and gamma delta TCRs are there. These gamma delta ensure that they recognize the target antigen directly. Also, it will not restricted by the MHC class 1 and class 2 molecule. So, what are these alpha beta TCR? So, these recognize the peptide bound to either MHC class 1 or this MHC class 2. But this gamma delta TCR are different. They normally recognize the non peptide antigens. What are the non peptide? As the name suggests, non peptide, which is not made up of proteins, right? So, these are like lipids or the phosphorylated metabolites or any stress induced molecules. So they will often recognize this non-peptide antigen directly, right? Because they directly do this. So that's why this statement is true, that recognize their target antigen directly. And also these, how they do is, they don't need any classical MHC presentation. So that means it is not restricted by any classical MHC class 1 and 2. But this alpha beta T cells, they are strictly restricted to the peptide MHC complex. But this gamma delta TCRs, they are different. They directly bind to this non-peptide antigen, which is like lipid, phosphorylated metabolites, anything which is not peptides, right? They'll directly bind, they don't need any MHC processing, presentation, nothing. Why? Because they interact with the molecule called CD1 for lipid, and it or recognize stress ligands directly. In case of lipids, it will directly, this gamma delta T cells will directly binds with the CD1 and it will recognize the antigens, right? So in this way, these gamma beta and alpha beta and gamma delta are different. So this is important also. That's all. Um, that's all for today's class. And nice, Divya and Meghna, you responded very well. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.